As has been pretty clear for a while now, Resident Evil Village is Resident Evil 7 through the lens of Resident Evil.
What up, you guys?
When the latter was released back in 2005, it totally revamped what the franchise had been up to that point, swapping the earlier game's slower survival
Take-Two already passing stuff already. Nothing pretty, man. So I just like, whatever, you know.
Adrenaline-fueled panic. Village adds to RE7 by taking its cues from the faster, panickier
What up, Saints?
It's again played from a tight, closed-in, first-person perspective, and it still often focuses on slower movement and exploration. But Village's approach is distinctly more action-centric, and it's remarkable how much Capcom has managed to push the underlying formula of its reboot to the series in such a different direction.
How's everyone doing?
Village picks up on Resident Evil 7's story 3 years later, again focusing on protagonist Ethan Winters. After rescuing his wife Mia from the Baker house and subsequently getting saved by Resident Evil franchise mainstay Chris Redfield, Ethan and Mia went into hiding with Chris's help, moving to Europe to restart their lives. They've since had a daughter, but their lives are upended again when Chris and his team bust into the couple's house and drag Ethan and baby Rose off. Ethan wakes up sometime later after a car crash. The two random Special Forces guys who were transporting him and Rose are dead. Ethan wanders through the snowy woods in search of his missing child until he hits a ramshackle, seemingly empty village. Before long, he discovers it's under siege by what appear to be werewolves.
You know, how's everybody doing?
It's all extremely reminiscent of the beginning of Resident Evil 4, which upended the RE formula by dropping you into a village overrun with enemies who acted like humans rather than shambling, mindless zombies. The Lycans you face wield weapons and shoot arrows at you, and to avoid getting surrounded, you can run into houses and barricade the doors with furniture to slow their advances. Just like its 2005 inspiration, the opening battle of Village taps into a frightening intensity of trying to create a defensible position or take part in a running gunfight that you're in serious danger of losing. It's a completely different feeling from the slow burn thread of RE7, but Village's combat can make your heart pound just as hard.
Damn,
the fact that Village feels like such a turn away from RE7 is what works about it. As a sequel, it feels like Capcom reaching for a new way to challenge itself. Most of the time in Village, at least on its standard difficulty, you'll find yourself pretty well outfitted for whatever you're about to face. The challenge is in using those resources effectively and keeping yourself alive. Village uses the same movement system as RE7, which can feel a little slow and clunky at times. Ethan isn't especially agile, and even at a sprint, it can feel like he's barely moving. Despite a sense of trudging through mud, Village is tuned so that enemies also approach slowly and cautiously, so dealing with them comes together like a standoff that has you judging their moves or hitting their weak points before they have a chance to get in close and rip into you. And sometimes you just have to run and hope you can find a better place to make your stand. While the controls add tension when you're surrounded, they can be a bit obtuse, making it difficult to avoid attacks. You're often dodging attacks as a monster charges you or swings at you with a huge weapon. You can absorb some damage with the ability to hold up your hands in a guard, another RE7 feature that helps mitigate the limitations of your movement. But the better strategy is to try to run around the battlefield and get out of the way. That usually means sacrificing seeing what your opponent is doing. Since Ethan can't step sideways while looking forward, you're constantly just running and hoping whatever is coming at you doesn't hit you. It doesn't make these battles frustrating or add to their difficulty, but it does add a counterintuitiveness to combat that can take you out of the mood. Bullets are easy to come by, and if you're short, you can craft more from materials you find or purchase them from the Duke, a traveling merchant. All that stuff you're carrying around has to go somewhere, so Village brings back the inventory management system of RE4. You have a suitcase full of weapons, ammo, and health items, with each taking up space on a grid. You can move items around to make sure they all fit in your case, Tetris style, and purchase bigger cases from the Duke so you can bring more stuff. The system is most interesting when it starts making you wonder if you should sell off old guns or toss less useful items in favor of things like extra ammo. Mercifully, crafting items don't count against your inventory space, so you're free to make bullets and health items on the fly. On standard difficulty, it was never a big concern, but you do have to start thinking about keeping space open as you explore in case you find something essential. Though Village has far more variety of enemies to fight than RE7, It's not all shooting, with a lot of varied pacing and new challenges throughout. There are 4 different areas to unlock as you progress through the story, each headed by one of the 4 lords, scary monster people who dominate the village and the area around it. After the opening village, the first is the castle run by Lady Dimitrescu, where there's a lot less shooting to be done. You'll occasionally face enemies you have to gun down, but much more time in the castle is spent navigating its tight corridors, as you're hunted by the vampire Dimitrescu and her daughters. You can't kill the vampires with your conventional weapons, so you have to run if you're found. The entire level is spent exploring the castle, looking for the items you need to advance through the area, while listening for Dimitrescu's clumping footsteps and trying to keep away from her. Even in this first new area, Village is mixing and remixing its experience with different horror ideas. You're not just shotgunning a ton of enemies, you're also engaging in stealth more akin to what navigating the Baker House was like in RE7. And later portions of the game throw different obstacles into your path. There are areas that are full of puzzles that are reminiscent of the mansion of Resident Evil or the police station of RE2. There are sections where you hear frightfully powerful enemies in the distance you know you'll have to fight. And there are points that show Village can still hone in on some of the intense frights that made RE7 so remarkable. Suffice to say that Village is great at maintaining an atmosphere of unease as you head around each new corner. Sure, you have plenty of weapons, but can you handle what you're about to face? Will they even work against the next creature you encounter? There's an excellent balance between providing lots of action and maintaining that dread. Village encourages its own kind of fear, and it hits you with a few great RE7-like set pieces to ratchet up the tension when you least expect it. No 2 sections of Village are quite the same. Each draws on different aspects of past Resident Evil games and combines them with that underlying RE7 feel to create something that's both new and nostalgic. It's impressive how the game can change to be a little different again and again throughout its runtime, mixing in other ideas from the franchise to make each section fun, intense, and naturally frightening in its own way. The exception to that is the last hour of the game, where things take a weird, over-the-top turn. In the run-up to Village's final moments, the action gets turned up even higher. It seems like a needless digression, where Village draws on the worst action-heavy portions of Resident Evil 6, losing track of what made you grit your teeth and clench your fists, and exchanging it for something more akin to shooters like Call of Duty.
That could have been
this same moment highlights some of the inconsistency in Village's story. Though the game's imagery recalls the Umbrella logo from past games, Village's connection to the rest of the franchise feels a bit tacked on. The same is true of Chris Redfield, whose presence in the story feels like an afterthought. Ethan's interactions with the 4 lords and the mystery of the village is more fun and interesting, since the antagonists come off as petty, flawed, and human. They don't particularly like each other, but are all eager to torture and maim you anyway, and their interactions with Ethan and each other add dimension to their characters.
Lycans and gentlemen, we thank you for waiting. And now let the games begin!
Village is a spooky romp with fun villains, but it's just a shame that more time wasn't devoted to the hanging story threads of RE7 or the franchise at large. Thankfully, that digression doesn't last long. Meanwhile, the elements about combat that are fun are transplanted into the fast-paced arcade mode, the Mercenaries. The mode takes the combat of the village, slaps a timer on it, and focuses it on scoring points. The Mercenaries is a fun side activity in its own right, always daring you to get a higher score by balancing taking down as many enemies as you can and trying to complete one of its given levels as fast as you can. It demonstrates how tight the combat in the village can be, although at times it can be held back a bit by the slow underwater feeling of movement around the battlefield.
Why haven't they made a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 remaster Black Ops 1?
Resident Evil 7 was an excellent return to the horror roots of the franchise with some cunning new ideas.
It just makes no sense, bro.
Village is an intelligent reimagination of the best action elements of Resident Evil. Though it captures some of the same things that made RE7 such a breath of fresh air, Village uses new takes on the ideas of the past to evolve into its own unique creature.
I don't think you realize how they managed to destroy their reputation. Oh, True Gamer, of course, man, of course. They see now that's a question right there that I like to talk about.
Thank you. And even the lack of one. Over its 25 years of existence, I've seen this franchise transform,
but they definitely are kind of
redefine itself over and
hitting
over
all
and
these
over
things.
Being everything from a teeth-grinding horror madhouse to a co-op over-the-top Hollywood action rock.
Now it's due to me to make a video on this shit, man.
An absolute thirst trap.
I'm already halfway done with making a video talking about this.
Into different genres, set pieces, and concepts. Some more successful than others. And everything the franchise has attempted, accomplished,
is there anything new about GTA?
Is in Resident Evil Village.
Rockstar is not really like
from a genre-defining breakthrough to some of the more debatable entries. Resident Evil Village is the most Resident Evil game of them all.
Take-Two's destroying Rockstar games.
The foundation of Resident Evil Village lies on the actual village. It's a sprawling maze-like area with dead ends, locked doors, and obtuse paths. But as the game progresses, it connects to the other areas, unraveling new ones to be discovered, rewarding the player with keys and items that compel them to backtrack and re-explore it. This was a trope defined by the franchise's very first entry back in 1996, and it was a revolution for horror games, and the first to define a genre. The survival horror genre. It took elements from adventure games with exploration, backtracking, and item-based puzzles, and then applied survival to it,
is to find
by
out
giving the player
something from
very limited resources and enemies that soaked up that precious ammunition.
Thanks for the sub. Look, this man is scared to subscribe, man.
Through a maze-like environment of narrow halls, forcing the player to make life or death choices.
Man had balls to hit that sub, bro. Thank you, man.
Designed Oswell Spencer
Appreciate you for that.
This is a characteristic that would come and go through the franchise.
He's a clock man.
Puzzles being last seen most prominently in the fourth entry in the series, Code Veronica, back in 2000.
Man, with the scared to subscribe, you tough, man.
Return in Resident Evil 7, but even then, the exploration was pale in comparison to 1, 2, and Veronica. That is, until
Resident Evil Village.
The village opens and unravels similarly to the original Oswell Mansion from 1 and the Raccoon City Police Department from 2, or even more accurately, like Code Veronica's European Gothic Palace and Victorian Mansion, especially considering its similar aesthetic to Lady Dimitrescu's castle in Resident Evil Village. Speaking of Big Lady D, let's talk about being chased. As you navigate the halls of Dimitrescu's castle, she and her daughters will stalk and follow you as you desperately try to find keys and items to unlock
it's definitely Rockstar Games.
This iconic and terrifying characteristic comes straight from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Resident Evil 3 threw a wrench in the tropes that 1 and 2 had created, trading off the slow pacing for urgency and paranoia.
Honestly, I'm not really interested in
bust through at any moment. A towering, invincible foe that stalks you constantly,
is this all they're going to talk about?
Ramping up the pressure when you'd least expect it.
Can you talk about something else?
Like many ideas of the Resident Evil franchise,
how about Silent Hill?
The mechanic of constantly being pursued wouldn't make a return until, again,
Silent Hill. Why are they not doing
Silent
Hill?
Baker. But it wasn't fully mastered until Resident Evil 2 Remake with Mr. X.
PT.
The Resident Evil 2 Remake took Jack Baker's stalking mechanic and launched it to the nth degree with Mr. X, making him a towering, silent
Why did I talk about that game that canceled a long time ago to bring it back? I want that game back, man. That game I will play.
Resident Evil 2 during the B scenario, but not to the same degree as Nemesis and Capcom, but at full force in the remake. Lady Dimitrescu is the embodiment of both Jack Baker and Mr. X, a family woman just looking after her own while also being an intimidatingly huge individual with big, I'm gonna f you up real hard energy. While you're traversing Village's many different environments, there'll be treasure to find, animals to hunt, and this jolly old fella to find solace in as you sell items, upgrade weapons, and buy new ones that you can organize in your Tetris-like inventory.
Crazy, man.
All of this is thanks to Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 ripped the franchise away from its fixed camera angles, expanded your arsenal, and turned the harrowing odds against one zombie up to 11, favoring overwhelming stress over pure horror. A near copy of Village's encounters with the Lycans, especially in its opening sequence when you're overwhelmingly outnumbered and have to barricade yourself into a house. 4 introduced the Tetris-like inventory case, the treasure hunting, currency, and a merchant to sell items with. Most of these mechanics are defining of 4's identity, and, interestingly, never appeared in the franchise again. That is, until now, with Village. Some of 4's influences on Village may not be as apparent as others. Probably the most notorious area in Village is House Beneviento, which not only features an adorable baby, but these terrifying ghost dolls, which aren't entirely new to the franchise. While 4 was in development, it had gone through several different prototypes until coming to what it is today. One internal version of the game was known as the hallucination version. In this prototype build, there was a room known simply as the doll room, where Leon Kennedy would fight against these pesky 19th century porcelain dolls. While this didn't end up making the cut for Resident Evil 4, it was revived and cemented in Village, leaning full force into the supernatural elements that Resident Evil only toyed with behind the curtains. And it gets to be a little nice wink and nod to us Resident Evil nerds who caught it.
I know,
and
man,
with
we
no
should.
reasonable transition, let's talk about Chris Redfield.
So we got
An
two.
overarching
You got
plot
the big
device in
one,
Resident Evil Village
November,
is Chris, who swoops into the opening
and we
moments of
got
the
the
game,
other
killing
one
Ethan's wife and kidnapping his baby. Chris is among the longest
sooner
standing
than
characters in
November.
the franchise,
So
first appearing in
the
Resident
one
Evil 1
sooner
alongside Jill
should be, I
Valentine.
don't know.
But the game to
They'll
have
probably
the
drop
most
it
defining impact on his character, shaping
next
him
month,
into the
maybe.
bulky military
Let's
head
hope next
that
month,
he is
guys.
now,
Let's really hope
is
next month that
Resident
it actually
Evil 5.
comes.
Taking him from the soft-faced boy from Resident Evil 1 and Code Veronica and establishing
After
his
99
military
game,
attitude
after 2
and
weeks
muscles.
of this week, the other
Mechanically,
thing, we
Village
should probably
didn't
see
really take that
some
much from the co-op focused
trailer
5, aside from carrying the
announcement,
weight of Redfield's
and then them
pecs.
dropping it.
But when Resident Evil 6 rolled around, it had completely launched the franchise into full-blown Hollywood antics with over-the-top action and a sprawling cast of characters that make even a soap opera jealous. Village captures 6 essence at its finest near the
Frankly,
closing hours.
man. Rockstar says hi. Rockstar Games says hi, everyone.
Redfield and go buck wild on waves of Lycans, all Call of Duty style, all of which comes to a close with Mushroom Cloud. While Resident Evil 6 is notoriously divisive
talking
among
about Call of
fans
Duty
for
on
being
a
a
Resident Evil
full-on
game, bro.
Hollywood
Come on,
action
what's
game,
wrong with you, man?
it seems that Village couldn't help itself from going a little off the rails once
Grim
again.
and
But
July,
hey, at least it
August
didn't have
structure
a
for
zombie
GT. Yeah.
T-Rex
Yeah,
monster
around there.
thing, right?
July, August, one of those. Could be early.
Obviously,
Could be
Resident Evil
early.
Village carried a lot over from its predecessor, Resident Evil 7. While 7 softly returned to its exploration and backtracking roots, its
I've
biggest
already played this
contribution to
game.
the franchise
I beat this
was
whole
its
game already.
change to a first-person
It
perspective.
was cool. This
Resident
game
Evil
was
7
alright.
was the first true reimagining the franchise had seen in a decade since Resident Evil 4. But this time around, making it first person.
Make sure you hit that like, guys. 40 likes in the
might be
chat.
attempting to revisit the franchise's DNA with an
40
emphasis on
likes
tight
in the
spaces,
chat. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you do
arbitrary
subscribe to the
locked
channel.
doors. This is something that Village
Hit
doubles
that
down.
sub, boy.
More interesting is how the game is structured, showcasing Resident Evil 7's antagonists as a family front and center, with each
Oh
foe
my
having their own
god, here
distinct
goes the
areas to
fucking
explore and
lawnmower
move
show.
A prominent
Oh,
trait
I
carried
totally
over
forgot
into
about that
Village's
shit, man.
narrative structure.
Y'all
would
gonna be
be
hearing
introduced
lawnmowers
to
and shit
the lore.
popping off here, man.
Resident Evil 7 felt like an attempt to reposition the franchise with a new
motherfuckers
generation
just don't stop,
and
man.
revisit old
I hate when
concepts
this.
in a way that was more palatable with modern gaming trends. It would have been risky for Capcom to put new players against a sprawling, intricate mansion filled with puzzles and backtracking, tropes that hadn't been seen in mainstream AAA games for decades at this point. But after 7's success, those very elements of backtracking, item searching, and
Look like these
exploration came
motherfuckers
back
with the
full
lawnmowers,
force
bruh.
in Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Don't mind these dudes.
Resident Evil 2 Remake was a no-holds-barred representation
When
of
it's
what
supposed to be
classic
June?
Resident Evil exploration and inventory management
We'll
was,
see, man.
but built into
I
the
mean, it's
modern
2 weeks
age,
of weekly
and
updates,
now
so we should be
making a
getting something,
grander,
you know?
more expansive return in Village. Lastly, we need to talk about
You
Resident
guys
Evil
hear
lore,
this shit now?
because Village is just
God, them
bursting
motherfuckers, man.
at the seams with it. In the final hours of the game, it is revealed that the
They get
main
paid for
villain
talking?
Mother
Oh,
Miranda's
yeah.
existence recontextualizes the backstory of the entire franchise. But no other game has made a similar contribution other than Code Veronica, one that I believe helped define Resident Evil's absurd and complicated lore that we know oh so well today. Resident Evil has grown to have a soap opera-like backstory that
Give us
spans
some
hundreds of years,
No carbon, they
involving
did not, man.
Nazi-like virologists
They
cloning
did
estranged
not, bro.
families and bioorganic terrorism.
This guy really loves
And
talking about
Veronica
Resident
was
Evil.
the first to take it all
He must
and
have
put it
been
front
up
and
all
center,
night for the past
introducing
3
rather
days.
theatrical and
Putting all this
eccentric
shit
villains,
together.
opening the gates beyond just Oswald Spencer's madness.
They're not doing
introducing
GT.
Ashford, a
Thought they
character
were gonna do
like
something like that,
Spencer,
but I guess not.
fixated on cloning and biochemical shenanigans. Basically, Code Veronica's Ashford family walks so Resident Evil 4 Salazar could run, and Village's 4 lords could soar. And in many
I know,
ways,
Carbon. I
Village's
know.
4 lords, while still an iteration on 7's Baker family,
They try to kill
is closely akin in
Ninja
their
Turtles, man.
theatrics and over-the-top
On the fucking
personas
comic
to
books.
Code Veronica's Ashford family.
Bastard asses.
Especially in the end of Village, when we learn Mother Miranda's impact on the entire franchise's lore. which is
drop
a
those
lot
likes,
to
guys.
unpack.
Drop
This
those
is similar
likes,
to the
man.
impact the Astro family had on Resident Evil's lore that interlaced alongside Oswald Spencer. Veronica had the most deepening effect on the game's lore at that time, just as Village has now, causing a ripple effect for what's come in the future of the franchise.
What?
Now, up to this point, with each new installment, Resident Evil has introduced a new idea, some of which were iterated on for sequels to come, while others were left behind as the genre
gates to my Xbox.
Resident Evil Village, on the other hand, has left none of those ideas behind. More than any Resident Evil before it, Village is the most to embody everything the franchise has been up to this point. Village is a culmination of all of that. Every single element wrapped up and stapled together. Whether it works, well, that's up to you to decide. But unabashedly, and of course as a Resident Evil apologist at times, I love it. And while it does feel like a Frankenstein's monster, it is an encapsulation of the franchise's 25 years. And for that reason alone, it makes Village one of the most special Resident Evil games to date. And it does a lot to push the franchise forward while doubling down on its past.
Can you tell me why they're still making kid games? The majority of all the games are a bunch of kid games, bro. It's like less adult games than kid games. To ruin my summer. Is it loud?
I am storm and calm.
Alright, better. There we go.
My queen.
What do you want? I wouldn't mind a GTA remake, but I want a GTA 4 remake, bro. That's what I want, bro.
Finally, the twain shall meet.
That's what I want.
平たく言うと戦闘が面白くなかった。サンドバッグ状態っていうんですかね。
Right, Vector. Majority of games are little kid games than actual adult games.
絶対嫌われるだろう。
ビレッジがどうあるべきかって死に物狂い
What up, Texas? What up, Texas? What's happening, boy? How you going there, man?
コロナでやっぱり会社としては自粛期間っていうのがあって、そこで開発もね一旦ストップしちゃったんですよね。家で悶々とビレッジのことを考えるしかない。本当ね1ヶ月以上あって、
San Andreas needs to get the treatment
やっぱビレッジ今のままじゃダメだよね。
They can't do it the true way because of the voice actor for me.
一致したんですよ。
We need San Andreas, bro.
どうすべきか。
San Andreas, man.
家で考えたことぶつけ合って。
I honestly don't care about Liberty City, to be honest. I really don't care about Liberty City.
初期の
I like Liberty City, but I don't care for it as much as I care for Vice City and San Andreas.
具体化するためにどれだけプレイヤーの人に焦りと恐怖を与えられるかっていうところで、敵をどれだけ勢いよく恐ろしく襲いかからせるかみたいなところに一番力を入れて
Texas, they still haven't talked about PT, bro.
制作過程で一回
Playable teaser. It was a Silent Hill game that included
皆さんに
what's his
遊ん
name
でもらったことがあるんですけど
from Walking Dead? I
そこで
forgot
得
his
た
name.
反応としては確かに敵がものすごい勢いで襲ってくるんだけども逆に考えることが少ないという反応が多かったんですね。
I'm sure we do, man. I'm sure we
そ
do,
こでな
bro.
んとか、直そうとしたものを、品管の皆さんに見ていただいたん
Where's
です
Shiro
け
Kojima,
ど
man? I need to speak to that man.
その時にこれはまずいなというのを強く感じま
Daryl,
した。
yeah, but
開
no meters. There
発
you go.
から聞いて
No
た事前の自
meters.
信とその内容っていうのがやっぱ
I
あ
don't
まり
think
に
you
も
guys heard of Playable Teaser.
初めてビレ
Silent
ッ
Hill.
ジの戦闘
Where they
を
canceled
触っ
it.
た時の印象はとにかく敵が多いで敵がすごく攻撃的に攻めてくるでこっちの弾は少ないでしかもその戦
Where
闘
is
が面白
expanded
くない
enhance? Super,
本当に
super
面倒くさくてつまら
mega
ない
Godzilla, Mecha
相当しんどい内容にな
Godzilla.
ってまし
You
た
tell me, man. Where is enhanced and expanded? Or expanded and enhanced? Where is it?
そんな感じに見えました。大きな変更っていう
Where's the sub
の
at?
は
Where y'all subs
当
at?
然
Hit that
プ
sub
ロジ
me,
ェクト
boys.
マネージャー
Come on, one time.
警戒する。
Give it a shout out right now.
や
Right
っぱりその
now.
問題点が明確に見えてる以
Hit that
上
sub,
は
yo.
それをまあ放置したまま最終的にゴー
Claude
ル
never
させる
speaks, man. I'm not gonna stay quiet muted.
やっぱり選択しづらいので、まあ挑戦すべきだろうなという結論にはなります。
D5 expanded enhanced on April 5th, 2022.
まあ
I
今
love
思
how
えば
everybody's talking, man, but where's the subs at, man? Where the subs
や
at?
り
Where's
きれ
the
てなかったんで
support?
しょうね。そのビレッジがどうあるべきかっていうのはみんなおぼろげに見えてきてたん
Come
ですけ
show
ど
some love,
作り
man.
きれ
Hit
てな
that
かった
sub me,
と
man.
思うんですよ。
まあ、やはり開発は自信を持って作っている、まあ、日々心血注いで作っているので何か意見するというとやっぱりいい顔されないことが一般的には多いんですよね。でカプコンはその中でも相当やっぱ開発の理解
Nigga,
が
Texas,
進ん
thanks
で
for
る
the sub, man. Appreciate you. See, that man's not scared to subscribe, man. Who else is not scared, man?
時期が時期
Super, did you
かなり
really?
追い
Did
込
you
みの
really?
時期に入っているタイミングというのもあり
You
相
remember
当
when
やっぱり
GT5?
こ
Bro,
れは
said,
反発食ら
where
うん
the
じゃない
subs
かな
at?
と。
Yeah, where the subs at,
焦
man?
ってましたけどね、多分。
I'm not talking about subs as in like eating subs, man. I'm talking about y'all subs, man.
これ直さな本当にあかんのか、今でも十分できてると思うけどっていう思いもあったとは思いますけど。
Where the
でも
subs
その
at,
反発を
man?
めげず言わないといけない
Fuck the money if y'all gonna donate.
っていうのを
Type and subscribe, man. Come on.
その会議には臨みました。
I'm having the same problem with viewers. I don't know what's up. I don't know what it is, man.
どうせ直せたらもう
Did YouTube really hide the subscribe button from y'all?
ちゃ
Y'all
んと
don't see
直す
it?
ための一番最速で最小限の方法を
It's
考
free.
える
Wait, you going to eat
ってい
us?
うとこから
Shit, that's too much, bro. I'm gonna
懸
die,
念とい
man. I
うと
got
ころ
time
の
for
本当
that.
の理由は何なのかっていうところやっぱみんな探しに行くんですよ。
You remember when GT5 was coming out for
行きた
PS4?
く
They
ない
showed us
け
a
ど
trailer
行か
for
な
this
きゃいけ
month.
ないっていうのが基本だと思うんですよね。でもそこに行かなきゃいけないっていうのをどう提示でき
They
るか
just gotta show us a
やり
trailer,
きれるん
bro.
だったらどこ
I
まで
need some more content, bro.
喜んでくれる
They
人
have us
たち
out
が
here
いる
drive for GTA5 content, man. I'm over here scraping the butter, man.
脊髄反射的に行動するんではなくて生き延びるために悩んでもらって迷ってもらってその末に恐怖
It's free on like Twitch. You have to pay to subscribe. Yeah, you gotta pay to subscribe on Twitch, man. But here it's free. Take advantage now. $5 off
どんだけそこ
coupon,
に
y'all.
プレイ
Come
ヤー
on.
の感情が乗るか感情を喚起させるような
$5
その
I'm
スト
giving
ー
it
リ
to
ー
y'all.
テリン
Hit
グ
that sub
あるいはレベル
now.
デザインができるかってところは非常に大きな
What's
テ
me
ー
in
マ
the
と
comments?
して取り
Y'all
組みました
want, but
間を
I'm
作る
cool to add the Zombie DLC in the GTA
ただ
5.
ただ
I'm
敵を
spending.
勢いよく襲って
Yeah,
らせて
nah,
プレイ
man.
ヤ
I
ーを
would
焦
love
らせ
that
るんで
shit.
はなく
If they
襲
added
いかかってくるんじゃ
a
ないかあるい
zombie
はこの
server
先
to
にいるんじゃないか
GTA 5
っていう間を
online,
意図
bro.
的に作ることによって緊張感を作って
But,
そこに
you know,
逆に
everybody's
実
scared,
際
bro.
的な
Everybody's
できた
scared of
ら
zombies.
一気にそこに考え
Nobody wants zombies. Everybody's scared of it.
緩急を重要視するっていうところを
What up, H-Town?
意識するように作り
Drop my
ました
second light, man.
そ
Thank
こで
you, bro.
初めて得られたような気がしましたこれでいけるわこれでいいよねって
来たなるほどこういうこと
Big shouts to buddy
最
else
終
is
的に
here,
は
but
まあいろん
only
な工
if
夫
you
ができる上
subscribe.
での死に物狂いっていうのが達成できたんじゃないのかなと。
ミレッジがバイオハザードになったなって
もともとこういうゲームだったかのように綺麗に収まって
Do I gotta show you guys where the sub button is at?
最終的には全部
It's on the lower right
良か
side.
ったと思ってますし
Right below,
成功だったと
like, dislike, share, save. Right underneath the save on your
今の
screen.
ミレッジだったら自
Right
信持
below
って
it
出
is
せます
subscribe, and there's a little bell on the side. Just like look down, see the big
こ
red
ちらか
button
ら
right there.
相当数の
Subscribe.
課題を上げさせてもらってたんですけども、本当に短い期間
Easiest shit
で
ever, man.
かなりの部分が改善されていて、で中には素晴らしい出来栄えに変わっているところもあって正直驚きました。品質管理部と開発
Let's
ってい
get
う
it
のは
down.
立場は違えどいい商品をお客さんの元に届けるという目的では一致しているはずなので、
See what I'm doing in the video, man? I'm working on the video right now. Look at this. Look at that.
もっとこうした方がお客さんが喜ぶんじ
Yeah,
ゃない
boy,
か
working on the video right now as we speak. Who does this shit?
嫌われなが
Nobody.
ら怒ら
Only
れなが
P1
ら
does this shit.
遠慮せずに返していこうか
I
なと
edit
思
while
って
I'm
ます。
streaming. What a lit motherfucker, right?
品質
Dedicated.
管理部の立
Yeah,
場
YouTube
から
wants to hide my shit.
本当により多くのプレイヤーの方
Right,
に
right, right.
楽しんでもらえるっていう観点から、こんなこと言ったら絶対嫌われるだろうということも承知の上でこうした方がいいっていう意見をもう出して
People wanna lit motherfucker.
いいものに仕上がるっていうところではもう絶対に必要なものだったというふうに思います。本当にいいものを 多くのプレイヤーの方に
Damn, hold on.
届けるように
Okay,
頑張っていきますので、ぜひご期待いただければと思います。
Bro, show some man games, bro. Bro, show us some man games, man.
Wings of ruin.
You don't understand. That Rathalos is...
Sure. You see a bunch of boring games, man. Look at this. I'm gonna show you something right now, okay? Wait, let's go. Popularity. Piss off because subscribe on the channel. Look. Do me a favor, y'all.
We can't let you interfere with our plans.
Make that go up. Make this go up right now. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. See that bar right there? Can y'all see that? Y'all see that? Look at that big ass graph.
Suppose he saw this coming?
Look at that shit.
Won't let you awaken it.
Pretty right. Because exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's why we out here wasting our time, bro.
So, you're going to
be out here wasting that time, boy.
Over the last 25 years, Resident Evil has continually changed and evolved as Capcom has tried different mixes of survival horror and action gameplay. With Resident Evil 7, Capcom swung for the fences with a first-person perspective and more classic, horror-focused gameplay. Its sequel, Resident Evil Village, evolves that idea to make something that feels very different from its predecessor, but which is just as engaging. Though the perspective and the mechanical underpinnings are the same, Village branches off in its own direction from RE7, capturing some of the things that were great about that game while resisting the impulse to retread the same ground. While it's still frightening at points, it takes a less horror-driven tack on the same formula. Village continues to evolve Resident Evil while maintaining a keen grasp on some of its core tenets, finding new ways, or reviving old ones, of getting under your skin and ratcheting up the tension.
Where the hell am I?
As has been pretty clear for a while now, Resident Evil Village is Resident Evil 7 through the lens of Resident Evil 4. When the latter was released back in 2005, it totally revamped what the franchise had been up to that point, swapping the earlier game's slower survival horror focus for a more fast-paced action approach, trading darkened corridors and jump scares for adrenaline-fueled panic. Village adds to RE7 by taking its cues from the faster, panickier RE4. It's again played from a tight, closed-in, first-person perspective, and it still often focuses on slower movement and exploration. But Village's approach is distinctly more action-centric, and it's remarkable how much Capcom has managed to push the underlying formula of its reboot to the series in such a different direction. Village picks up on Resident Evil 7's story 3 years later, again focusing on protagonist Ethan Winters. After rescuing his wife Mia from the Baker house and subsequently getting saved by Resident Evil franchise mainstay Chris Redfield, Ethan and Mia went into hiding with Chris's help, moving to Europe to restart their lives. They've since had a daughter, but their lives are upended again when Chris and his team bust into the couple's house and drag Ethan and baby Rose off. Ethan wakes up sometime later after a car crash. The two random Special Forces guys who were transporting him and Rose are dead. Ethan wanders through the snowy woods in search of his missing child until he hits a ramshackle, seemingly empty village. Before long, he discovers it's under siege by what appeared to be werewolves. It's all extremely reminiscent of the beginning of Resident Evil 4, which upended the RE formula by dropping you into a village overrun with enemies who acted like humans rather than shambling, mindless zombies. The Lycans you face wield weapons and shoot arrows at you, and to avoid getting surrounded, you can run into houses and barricade the doors with furniture to slow their advances. Just like its 2005 inspiration, the opening battle of Village taps into a frightening intensity of trying to create a defensible position or take part in a running gunfight that you're in serious danger of losing. It's a completely different feeling from the slow burn dread of RE7, but Village's combat can make your heart pound just as hard. The fact that Village feels like such a turn away from RE7 is what works about it. As a sequel, it feels like Capcom reaching for a new way to challenge itself. Most of the time in Village, at least on its standard difficulty, you'll find yourself pretty well outfitted for whatever you're about to face. The challenge is in using those resources effectively and keeping yourself alive. Village uses the same movement system as RE7, which can feel a little slow and clunky at times. Ethan isn't especially agile, and even at a sprint, it can feel like he's barely moving. Despite a sense of trudging through mud, Village is tuned so that enemies also approach slowly and cautiously, so dealing with them comes together like a standoff that has you judging their moves or hitting their weak points before they have a chance to get in close and rip into you. And sometimes you just have to run and hope you can find a better place to make your stand. While the controls add tension when you're surrounded, they can be a bit obtuse, making it difficult to avoid attacks. You're often dodging attacks as a monster charges you or swings at you with a huge weapon. You can absorb some damage with the ability to hold up your hands in a guard, another RE7 feature that helps mitigate the limitations of your movement. But the better strategy is to try to run around the battlefield and get out of the way. That usually means sacrificing seeing what your opponent is doing. Since Ethan can't step sideways while looking forward, you're constantly just running and hoping whatever is coming at you doesn't hit you. It doesn't make these battles frustrating or add to their difficulty, but it does add a counterintuitiveness to combat that can take you out of the moment. Bullets are easy to come by, and if you're short, you can craft more from materials you find or purchase them from the Duke, a traveling merchant. All that stuff you're carrying around has to go somewhere, so Village brings back the inventory management system of RE4. You have a suitcase full of weapons, ammo, and health items, with each taking up space on a grid. You can move items around to make sure they all fit in your case, Tetris style, and purchase bigger cases from the Duke so you can bring more stuff. The system is most interesting when it starts making you wonder if you should sell off old guns or toss less useful items in favor of things like extra ammo. Mercifully, crafting items don't count against your inventory space, so you're free to make bullets and health items on the fly. On standard difficulty, it was never a big concern, but you do have to start thinking about keeping space open as you explore in case you find something essential. Though Village has far more variety of enemies to fight than RE7, it's not all shooting, with a lot of varied pacing and new challenges throughout. There are 4 different areas to unlock as you progress through the story, each headed by one of the 4 lords, the scary monster people who dominate the village and the area around it. After the opening village, the first is the castle run by Lady Dimitrescu, where there's a lot less shooting to be done. You'll occasionally face enemies you have to gun down, but much more time in the castle is spent navigating its tight corridors, as you're hunted by the vampire Dimitrescu and her daughters. You can't kill the vampires with your conventional weapons, so you have to run if you're found. The entire level is spent exploring the castle, looking for the items.
What the hell? Why did it mute?
Through the area, while listening for Dimitrescu's footsteps and trying to keep away.
I thought I was on mute, bro.
In this first new area, Village is mixing and remixing its experience with different horror ideas. You're not just shotgunning a ton of enemies. You're also engaging in stealth, more akin to what navigating the Baker House was like in RE7. And later portions of the game throw different obstacles into your path. There are areas that are full of puzzles that are reminiscent of the mansion of Resident Evil or the police.
I said, what's up, Karen? How you doing?
There are sections where you hear frightfully powerful enemies in the distance you know you'll have to fight. And there are points that show Village.
Bro, stop showing this, man. I won't see this no more.
Frights that made RE7 so remarkable. Suffice to say,
oh my god, bro. Can you just stop?
As you head around each new corner. Sure, you have plenty of weapons, but can you handle what you're about to face? Will they even work against the next creature you encounter? There's an excellent balance between providing lots of action.
No, I was no V. I was talking to my girl.
Encourages its own kind of fear, and it hits you with a few great RE7-like set pieces to ratchet up the tension when you least expect it. No 2 sections of Village are quite the same.
But then I forgot to hit the mute right after. Like after.
With that underlying RE7 feel to create something that's both new and nostalgic. It's impressive how the game.
Yeah, this game is just trash, man. I don't know, man. Oh god, bro. When nigga just can all that is watch something else, man.
Naturally frightening in its own way. The exception to that is the last hour of the game.
Y'all hit that sub, man. Hit that sub, y'all.
In the run-up to Village's final moments, the action gets turned up even higher. It seems like a needless digression. where Village draws on the worst action-heavy portions of Resident Evil 6, losing track of what made you grit your teeth, punch your fists, and exchanging it for something more akin to shooters like Call of Duty. This same moment highlights some of the inconsistency in Village's story. Though the game's imagery recalls the Umbrella logo from past games, Village's connection to the rest of the franchise feels a bit tacked on. The same is true of Chris Redfield, whose presence in the story feels like an afterthought. Ethan's interactions with the Four Lords and the mystery of the village is more...
I'm doing alright, man.
Since the antagonists come off as petty, flawed, and human. They don't particularly like each other, but are all eager to torture and maim you anyway. And their interactions...
That's the V3 tomorrow, yeah. Earlier I couldn't hear back on what it... yeah, they were.
We thank you for waiting. And now let the games begin.
I'm so tired of this crap, man.
Fun villains, but it's just a shame that more time wasn't devoted to the hanging story threads of RE7 or the franchise at large. Thankfully, that digression doesn't last long. Meanwhile, the elements about combat that are fun are transplanted into...
Let's see, I'm trying to put this somewhere up here. Nah, it's not working.
The mode takes the combat of the village, slaps a timer on it, and focuses it on scoring points. The Mercenaries is a fun side activity in its own right, always daring you to get a higher score by balancing taking down as many enemies
so PS is tomorrow? Nah, not at all.
It demonstrates how tight the combat in Village can be, although at times it can be held back a bit by the slow underwater feeling of movement around the battlefield. Resident Evil 7 was an excellent return to the horror roots of the franchise with some cunning new ideas. Similarly,
so they have
an intelligent reimagination of the best.
So tomorrow they have Nintendo Direct E3 2021. Then they have Bandai Namco.
Village uses new takes on the ideas of the past to evolve into its own unique creature.
And they have Xbox Game Showcase extended Thursday, June 17th.
Resident Evil has had many faces, and even the lack of one. Over its 25 years of existence, I've seen this franchise transform.
Xbox Showcase extended on the 17th.
Over again, being everything from a teeth-grinding horror madhouse to a co-op, over-the-top Hollywood action romp to, most recently, an absolute thirst trap. Wow. I've seen the franchise take detours into different genres, set pieces, and concepts. More
Spanish, she'll freak that girl kissing that dude's hand. I know, right?
Accomplished and even failed at is in Resident
This man talking me to race.
From a genre-defining breakthrough.
Stop talking, sir.
Debatable entries. Resident Evil Village is the most Resident Evil game of them all. Let me break this down.
No, please don't break it down. Stop talking about this, man. Oh my god.
Maze-like area with dead ends, locked doors, and obtuse paths. But as the game progresses, unraveling new ones can be discovered, rewarding the player with keys and items that compel them to backtrack and re-explore it. This was defined by the franchise's very first entry back in 2006.
No, please stop.
And it was a revolution for horror.
Just stop, bro.
The first to define a genre, the survival horror genre. It took elements from adventure games with exploration,
they playing too much, man.
Puzzles, and then applied survival to it by giving the player very limited resources and enemies that soaked up that precious ammunition. It was a slow-paced slog through a maze-like environment of narrow halls, forcing the player to make life or death choices around every corner of the confusingly designed Oswell Spencer.
Guess what we doing, boys?
This is a characteristic that was
Guess what we doing, boys?
Being last seen finally the fourth entry of the series, Code Veronica, back in 2000.
Most vengeance with the Panther.
Returned in Resident Evil 7, but even then, the exploration was pale in comparison to 1, 2, and Veronica. That is, until Resident Evil Village. The village opens and unravels similarly to the original Oswell Mansion from 1 and the Raccoon City Police Department from 2, or even more accurately, like Code Veronica's European Gothic Palace and Victorian Mansion, especially considering its similar aesthetic to Lady Dimitrescu's castle in Resident Evil Village. Speaking of Big Lady D, let's talk
that
about
definitely be what she talks too much, bro.
Halls of Dimitrescu's castle, she and her daughters will stalk and follow you as you desperately try to find This iconic and terrifying characteristic comes straight from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Resident Evil 3
That's what we're
tropes that 1
doing.
and 2 had created, trading off the slow pacing.
You see that?
Big baddie Nemesis can bust through at any moment. A towering foe that stalks you constantly, ramping up the pressure when you least expect it. Like many ideas of the Resident Evil franchise, the mechanic of constantly being pursued wouldn't make a
So we ain't playing around.
until, again, Resident Evil 7 with Jack Baker. But it wasn't fully
That
mastered
man
until
done what's up
Resident
to
Evil 2
changed.
remake with Mr. X. The Resident Evil 2 remake took Jack Baker's stalking mechanic and launched it to the nth degree with Mr. X, making him a towering, silent...
I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, 2018 was better than this year's E3.
Resident Evil 2 during the B scenario, but not to the same degree as Nemesis. Capcom went full force in the remake. Lady Dimitrescu is the embodiment of both Jack Baker and Mr. X, a family woman.
You're like, well, people over here playing shit. People over here playing some rocks, some Call of Duty shit.
Real hard energy. While you're traversing villages, many different environments, there'll be treasure.
They're gonna talk the whole event. I'm tired of them, bro. They talk too much, bro. I feel like they're talking about the same shit. It's on a loop.
You can organize in your Tetris-like inventory. All of this is thanks to Resident Evil 4.
Bro, we already seen this. Look, it's on a damn loop. What are they doing? Let's look down, say.
A near copy of Village's encounters with a
Bro, it's on a loop for the third time, bro.
when you're overwhelmingly outnumbered and have to barricade yourself into a house. 4 introduced the Tetris-like inventory case, the treasure hunting, currency, and a merchant to sell items with. Most of these mechanics are defining of 4's identity. And
Bro, this is on repeat. They put it on repeat, man.
the franchise again. That is, until now, with Village. Some of 4's
They could have been interesting. Exactly.
be as apparent as others, however. Probably the most notorious.
We do need to explain some of that, man.
Which not only features an adorable baby, but these terrifying ghost dolls, which aren't.
Look at the top right. What about
While
it?
4 was in development, it had gone through several different prototypes until coming to what it is today.
What? What's on the top right?
The game was known as the hallucination version.
Hit that like, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you ain't new, man, hit that sub, man.
Where Leon Kennedy would fight against these
This shit repetition, right?
porcelain dolls. While this didn't end up making the cut for
Bro, they already talked about this like 20 minutes ago.
cemented in Village, leaning full force into the supernatural
Yeah, I know.
elements that Resident Evil only toyed with behind the curtains. And it gets to be a little nice wink and nod to us Resident Evil nerds who caught it. And
What up,
with a
Victor? What's up, man?
Transition, let's talk about Chris Redfield. An
No, don't. Stop talking about him.
is Chris,
God
who swoops
damn,
into the
man.
opening moments of the game, killing Ethan's wife and
How are you,
kidnapping
Victor? How's school?
Chris
Is it
among
over?
the longest standing characters in the franchise, first appearing in Resident Evil 1 alongside Jill Valentine. But the game to have the most defining impact
What's the timer for it? It's till Capcom E3 panel starts.
now is Resident Evil 5, taking him from the soft-faced boy from Resident Evil 1 and Code Veronica and establishing
10 minutes left, and it's going to talk about it again and watch. Yeah, bro, it's stupid.
Mechanically, Village didn't really take that much from the co-op focused 5, aside from carrying the weight of Redfield's pecs. But when Resident Evil 6 rolled around, it had completely launched the franchise into full-blown Hollywood.
Before, I couldn't do something like this where I could put picture to picture because my PC would give me so much shit before. But now I can do this shit. I can play the game while watching this shit at the same time, which is perfect.
Bucks wild on waves of lichens, all Call of Duty style, all of which comes to a close with Mushroom Cloud. While Resident Evil 6 is notoriously divisive among fans for being a full-on Hollywood action game, it seems that Village couldn't help itself from going a little off the rails once again. But hey, at least it didn't have a zombie T-Rex monster thing.
I'm gonna make the screen bigger. I want to watch.
Obviously, Resident Evil Village carried a lot over from its predecessor, Resident Evil 7. Well, 7
Shall I make the game a little bigger? Meantime, we're waiting for this stupid thing, or what?
Changed to a first-person perspective. Resident Evil 7 was the first true reimagining the franchise had seen in a decade since Resident Evil 4. But this time around, making it first person, leaning all in on horror and lightly attempting to revisit the franchise's DNA with an emphasis on tight spaces, exploration.
We've already seen that stupid thing for the third time. They
This is
just
something that Village doubles down. More interesting is how the game is structured,
keep it like half and half.
antagonists as a family front and center, with each foe having their own distinct area to explore and maneuver through. A prominent trait carried over into Village
like that. Damn loop over here too.
Used to the Four Lords. Resident Evil 7 felt like an attempt to reposition the franchise with a new generation and revisit old concepts in a way modern gaming trends. It would have been risky for Capcom to put new players against
look who's on PlayStation. Bossman Wiz.
tropes that hadn't been seen in mainstream AAA.
No, it's fine like that. Oh, okay.
But after 7's success, those very elements of background,
what the hell's going on? Okay, we got some shit going on with Call of Duty, bro.
Resident Evil 2 Remake was a no-holds-barred representation.
Hit that sub, y'all. Hit that sub, y'all. Drop a like. 50 likes in the chat, guys.
And now making a grander, more expansive return in Village. Lastly, we need to talk about Resident Evil Village.
What? Yeah, but he's probably at work. That's probably somebody else in his house playing it. Sam, I already did, man. I already did, bro.
One that I believe helped define Resident Evil's absurd and complicated lore that we know oh so well today. Resident Evil has grown to have a soap opera-like backstory that spans hundreds of years, involving Nazi-like.
I can't ban. I already banned them. Can you imagine how much money these gaming companies will make if they were to make games much more fun? Yeah, a lot more.
Introducing rather theatrical and eccentric villains.
Far Cry 6, that'd be pretty cool.
Oswald Spencer's madness and introducing Edward Ashford, a character like Spencer.
Bro, come on, what's the deal, bro?
Biochemical shenanigans. Basically, Code Veronica's Ashford family walks so Resident Evil 4 Salazar could run, and Village's 4 Lords.
Everybody's scared to hit the sub.
In many ways, Village's 4 Lords, while
everybody's scared to hit the sub. Not one subscriber has sub. Well, actually, one out of like many have not subscribed. Everybody's scared to hit the sub, so whatever.
Especially in the end of Village, when we learn Mother Miranda's impact on the entire franchise's lore, which is a lot.
What the fuck is going on with this shit, man?
Similar to the impact the Ashford family had on Resident Evil's lore that interlaced alongside Oswald Spencer.
What's your update?
Veronica had the most deepening effect on the game's lore at that time, just as Village has now, causing a ripple effect for what's to come in the future of the franchise. Now, up to this point, with each new installment, Resident Evil has introduced a new idea, some of which were iterated on for sequels to come, while others were left behind as the genre shaped and molded. Resident Evil Village, on the other hand, has left none of those ideas.
Oh, there's an update, bro. Oh, shit.
Village does the most to embody everything the franchise has been up to this point. Village is a culmination of all of it. Every single element wrapped up in
I already got an update, bro.
Whether it works, well, that's up to you to decide. But unabashedly, and of course as a Resident Evil apologist at times, I love it. And while it does feel like a Frankenstein's monster, it is an encapsulation of the franchise's 25 years. And for that reason alone, it makes Village one of the most special Resident Evil games today. And it does a lot to push the franchise forward while doubling down on its past.
My phone's dead, you know. I'll just put select all. I would, but I'm gonna delete all my trophies. I have a lot of trophies in here.
I am Storm Incarnate.
Let me go through everything, bro. I have way too much, bro. Nah, would it take two doing? I mean, they didn't do anything, bro. Just all the talking.
平たく言うと戦闘が面白くなかった。
サンドバッグ状態っていうんですかね。
いや、それはちょっと直せへんかもなみたいな。
絶対嫌われるだろう。
ビレッジがどうあるべきかって死に物狂いであって。コロナでやっぱり会社としては自粛期間っていうのがあって、そこで開発を
Yeah, it takes that long. I always do a lot of videos.
家で悶々とビレッジのことを考える。
Seriously, what the heck's the deal, man?
本当ね、1ヶ月以上あって、自粛明けてみんな集まった時に、やっぱビレッジ今のままじゃダメだよねっていうのは
33 got that locked!
一致したんですよ。でそれでもうどうすべきかっていうのをみんな家で考えたことをぶつけ合って、ちょっと直そうぜってなったんですよ。初期のビレッジでは、死に物狂いっていうコンセプトを具体化するために、どれだけプレイヤーの人に焦りと恐怖を与えられるかってところで、敵をどれだけ勢いよく恐ろしく
I hate that picture doesn't have no storage space. No, I have a terabyte.
力を入れて制作していました。制作過程で一回フォーカステストという形で、一部のプレイヤーの皆さんに遊んでもらったことがあるんですけど、そこで得た反応としては、確かに敵はものすごい勢いで襲ってくるんだけども、逆に
Actually, I have a lot of GTA shit, man, that I've been doing.
で、そこでなんとか、直そうとしたものを、品管の皆さんに見ていただいたんですけど、
でその時にこれはまずいなというのを強く感じ
ました。
開発から聞いてた事前の自信とその内容っていうのが、やっぱあまりにも乖離している。初めてビレッジの戦闘を触った時の印象は、
29 minutes
とにかく敵が多い。で、敵がすごく攻撃的に攻めてくる。
Hey, my name's BT, bro. What up, Kyle? What's up, man?
その戦闘が面白くないということで、本当に面倒くさくてつまらない。相当しんどい内容になってました。
サンドバッグ状態っていうんですかね。そんな感じに見えました。大きな変更っていうのは、当然プロジェクトマネージャーとしては警戒するところなんですけど、
I'll spend 90, bro. I think a 3 terabyte. I think 3 or 4 terabyte. I think one of those.
最終的にゴールさせるっていうのは、やっぱり選択しづらいので、挑戦すべきだろうなという結論にはなりました。
There we go.
今思えばやっぱりちょっとやりきれてなかったんでしょうね。そのビレッジ
Did anybody else get an update for the game or no?
やりきれてなかったんだと思うんですよ。
やはり開発は自信を持って作っている、日々心血注いで作っているので、やっぱりいい顔されないことが一般的には多いですよね。でカプコンはその中でも相当やっぱ開発の理解が進んでるとは思うんですね。ただビレッジの場合は時期かなり追い込みの時期に入っているタイミングというのもあり、相当やっぱりこれは反発食らうんじゃないかな。
Yo, man, I was playing a shit ton of Cyberpunk.
言ってたと思います。
Shit takes most of your time, bro.
まさかこのタイミングでこんなこと言われるか。これ直さな本当にあかんのか。今でも。
Well, let's see what's up here. You haven't been on PS5? For real? Let's play a bunch of these. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Capcom E3 Showcase. I'm your host, Rachel Querico, aka Seltzer, and I'll be your guide as we walk through the latest releases, news, and updates from Capcom. We'll hear from the Resident Evil Village team, share some news from the world of Monster Hunter, and get the latest on Ace Attorney. Then we'll wrap up with some updates from our friends at Capcom Fighters. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Our first stop today, Resident Evil Village. The Resident Evil franchise continues to pioneer the latest and greatest in survival horror. The team has been blown away by the response to Resident Evil Village, which launched last month. It brought the world another chapter in this decades-long story as the franchise celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. I'm honored to be able to introduce Tsuyoshi Kanda, producer on Resident Evil Village, with a special message for the fans.
Another time.
There's nothing to fear.
Rose! She's everything to me.
GD, welcome back, man. Okay, spin, yeah, they come and chill sometimes.
I think it's time you left things in my hands. Go on, rest now.
Hope we get this for this game.
Hi everyone, my name is Tsuyoshi Kanda, producer on Resident Evil Village. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's prayed since we launched the game in May. We hope you're enjoying this new chapter in survival horror. As a reminder, everyone who purchases Resident Evil Village will gain free access to our online multiplayer title, Resident Evil Reverse, where players go head-to-head with their favorite Resident Evil heroes and bioweapons. I'm now happy to announce that Resident Evil Reverse will go live next month across all supported platforms. So,
oh yeah, they bumped the music in the back. Yeah.
25th anniversary.
Thank you, Kanda-san, for that wonderful update. Next up, some long-awaited news from the world of Monster Hunter. Whether it's adventuring alongside monsters or battling them with friends, we've got something for you. First, let's dive into the brand new story-based RPG entry to the series,
Why is that, Franklin?
Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin.
The fuck? Why did you on Nintendo, bro? It's not even.
This was his fate.
Oh, never mind.
Red may have been strong and skilled.
Play this on place in BT.
He was merely a man. He never stood a chance.
Crazy, bro.
All around, things just kept getting worse. But I heard that Guardian Ratha had survived and returned to Hekolu Island. I went there to see Red's old monster again.
Boo.
Then, of course, that's when I met you.
You were given Red's kinship stone, and now a Rathalos egg. This is destiny.
This is the legendary monster.
They're showing us my kicking, bro. Yeah.
The monster with the wings of ruin.
It's said that a beat of its wings can bring about waves of destruction.
Many people believe there's a connection between the strange happenings and the wings of ruin. The pits are appearing everywhere, and they're emitting a strange light.
What's this whole idea of forming kinship with monsters? How do you control them?
It's not about control. Monsters help riders of their own will. And the bonds between monsters and riders are just like your bond with Tsukino.
This is crazy, man. This is crazy, bro.
What kind of power does Ratha really have? Why are all of these pits appearing?
And who are those people who want to take Ratha for themselves? Really, Spam?
All I have are questions.
I can't say anything, bro. I'll be doing that shit too, bro.
Ratha will become anxious too. He needs to know that you will protect him no matter what.
I can sense the flames of his life force weakening. The burden of such great power is too much for his body to bear.
Hit that sub, y'all. Hit that sub, y'all.
A voice. Can you hear it?
Riders can bond with monsters. Surely you can groove with fellow humans.
Subscribe to the channel, man.
Kinship.
Let's see.
They're friends. They're monsters.
Nintendo's Dookie.
Humans carry the strength of everyone they meet. That makes them strong. My friends here taught me that. I believe in the strength of humanity.
Boring game. Boring. I give it a 1. Everybody rate the games, alright? After every trailer here, rate the number. Give me a rating on that. Cool. You said 1. -1,000, a 1, -1.
Looks pretty epic, right? And how about that announcement? The canine companion Palamute from Monster Hunter Rise will be joining Monster Hunter Stories 2 as one of the new monsties in the first free title update coming soon after the game's release. You can get an early peek at the game with the Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin trial version starting on June 25th, which also carries your progress over to the full game release just a few weeks later on July 9th. That's not the only way to join the hunt. Millions of you made Monster Hunter Rise a huge success earlier this year, and we have even more content coming, including a new collaboration on the Rise. Let's find out more.
I'm gonna take a milk jug outside and take a picture of the handle and post it on my stories saying flight is taking off. There you go. There you go, man.
Rathalos is no runt. Moon's blessing emerge. Get ready. I have a good feeling. What will it be? Moon's blessing emerge.
1. Not looking good. Take 2 shortcuts yet? For zone? What up, man? For zone, hey, thank you, man. Thanks for the sub, bro. Appreciate it, man. They did. It was BS, bro. It was booty, bro. We're looking at my ice from this gameplay. Everybody, welcome for zone to the channel, guys. What the hell are they doing? Oh my god.
There has never been a better time to be
Rate,
a Monster
guys, rate
Hunter
time,
fan.
rate time.
With all the new updates to Monster Hunter Rise,
Negative
and the launch
4,000,
of
bro.
Monster Hunter Stories 2 this summer. We can't wait to hear about your own stories of adventure. Well, that's not the only thing Capcom has in store for us this July. Fans of Phoenix Wright will have new chapters to explore with the release of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. North American and European future attorneys will finally be able to get their hands on the Great Ace Attorney Adventures and the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, which were previously only available in Japan. You'll travel back in time to the late 19th century Japan and London to play as Ryunosuke Naruhodo, Phoenix Wright's ancestor, in this action-packed prequel. Now, let's hear more about the story.
So then, let us unravel this mystery. Welcome to the center of the world. Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
This country is incredible. I will become a lawyer. I have to.
Why are they showing so many weak games, bro?
And discover what events led to
Oh my god, dude.
Who are you? Herlock Sholmes. You must have heard of me.
We must solve this case, Naruhodo-san.
Let us engage in the art of deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, what have we here? It would seem the truth is now tantalizingly close.
The defense demands its right to a cross-examination.
Of course, this Capcom doing this game for real.
Objection! Your testimony completely contradicts the facts.
Objection! My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage!
Text, I invited you to the World War Z game. I'm not sure if you're on your PS5 or not. I think you're watching.
So we have 10 new cases and 8 mini escapades where you can take on the role of a defense attorney. Now, we all want to
This
see
stuff
some
should be shown
gameplay,
at
right?
Nintendo. Exactly,
Let's take a
man.
closer first look at 2 gameplay features new to the franchise in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Oh my
Dance
God.
of Deduction and Summation Examination.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, Capcom's marketing brand manager for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
Where to?
The Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
Wow.
The Capcom team is thrilled to present 2 new gameplay features, Dance of Deduction and Summation Examination, coming to the Ace Attorney series.
While investigating to prove your client's innocence, players will come across conspicuous situations that require further examination with the help of Ryunosuke's legal aid Susato and the brilliance of deduction from Detective Herlock. Herlock will proceed to present his logic and reasoning spectacular, a grandiose yet flawed series of conjectures.
Text, you on your PS5 right now or no? Ugh. Glad the last 6 months for this. Oh man. Take care. Oh, okay, thanks for sure, bro. Steve Really, thanks for the sub, man. Appreciate you, bro. Everybody, welcome Steve Really to the chat.
Ryunosuke and Susato will then discuss to correct the flaws in Herlock's deductions. At this point, players will be prompted to search for clues
Joe, you guys want me to put the game thing on?
in the detective's logic and reveal the truth to the mystery.
You want me to put it on? Or no? Let me know. I don't know, nobody wants to see that bullshit. Or see this anime shit. Not anime shit, but like these gameplays.
His deductions based on the new information. Upon uncovering the truth, Ryunosuke and Herlock enter into a semi-metaphorical, semi-literal dance that brings them to the conclusion of the dance of deduction.
she seen the whole yeah, no man, for real. So nice, thanks for the sub, man.
In courtroom battles, players will attempt to convince 6 jurors of the innocence of their client. Their progress will be displayed and represented by 2 scales of justice, one black,
What up, Dirt?
to a guilty verdict,
Those don't even look like PS5 game, don't give by ass games.
In summation examination, take the stand to face off against the jurors, all of whom provide explanations as to why they've reached their guilty verdict.
You'll have to identify conflicting statements and sway the jury in your favor. Examine each statement carefully and
So that's what's up.
contradicting jurors to call out the flaws in their logic.
Objection!
Got that ass, bitch.
Be ready to provide evidence from the court record to help prove
Wait, hold up.
contradiction.
Why is this 2 different screens? I put this screen on for me to play the game while you guys are watching that, because that's just what we're watching right now is like not even pretty.
Slam of their fist, each juror you persuade
That's why I put the screen on for you guys to see so you guys on the board.
Scales of justice in your favor.
Correct.
Bring each contradiction to light and persuade the jury to help prove your client's innocence.
Objection! My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage!
This is just a small taste of the exciting
Oh
gameplay
snap, bro!
of the great Ace Attorney
Oh,
franchise. We are very excited to get this game in the hands of both new fans and die.
I haven't played this in a while, man.
Thanks for watching.
It's a confirmed GT enhanced channel being 3. CN.
Seems like I have
Nah,
a
I'm afraid
bunch
not,
of
bro.
games to catch up on. There are some exciting new adventures and titles to look forward to. Well,
You've
that's
been,
a look at the new premieres from Capcom. But what
We've
about
been played
esports?
with by
Let's close
Take
out
Two,
today's
man.
showcase with a few words from 2 of the stars of Capcom Fighters, Rob TV and Vicious. They'll tell us what's been going on with Capcom esports, including updates on the Capcom Pro Tour, Intel World Open, Street Fighter League, and all the other content on Capcom Fighters. Over to you guys.
What's going on,
Okay,
everybody?
I see
Welcome
the
to the
screen.
Capcom
Nah.
esports presentation for E3 2021. My name
See,
is
if you need to channel, make sure you hit that sub,
Capcom
man.
Pro Tour as well as Street Fighter League, here with competitive Street Fighter 5 player and host extraordinaire Hollywood, Rob TV. What's going on, Rob?
Oh my goodness, Vicious. Host extraordinaire. That just sounds beautiful. It has a ring to it. And I think that's the perfect word to describe what we have for everyone today. Street Fighter 5, Capcom E3. It just feels right and you feel the electricity in the air. Nice! Nice! What? That was nasty! And there might be some people at home, Vicious, who don't fully know what competitive Street Fighter 5 is. The long and the short of it is this. We travel all around the world, state to state, country to country, and we try to bring our opponent's life bar from
That's a game to take 2 to explore and smoke like. Yeah, no, spin for real.
Right, Rob, if you think you're the best,
Dark Light, if you need to channel, man, make sure you hit that sub, bro.
Capcom Pro Tour to prove and become possibly a world champion at Street Fighter 5.
The double perfect, the way you looked at the camera, like, whatever expect another man's controlling.
So in this year's CPT overall, it's a series of tournaments that have $5,000 on the line for each tournament, but that money alone, that's not the big, that's not what's really at stake here. It's about
Hit that sub, my dude. Subscribe to the channel.
Capcom Cup.
Item just reset in grand finals.
Where's GTA? It's nice. Shit, you tell me,
You
bro.
can see in all of its glory, the
Take 2 playing with us, man.
2021 official stage and set, and that's a place that you are very, very familiar with.
That's right, we take all of our events and broadcast it live from this stage, and we check out all of the top competitors from each and every one of these regions. And speaking of, the Capcom Pro Tour
People
has
should
shaped up a
join.
lot. 2021,
Right.
we have 32 events going on in the Capcom Pro Tour, spanning across 19 different territories. So there's so many opportunities.
Davey,
for
Dave,
players from
nah,
around
bro.
the world
Hit that sub,
to
man.
get
That's what you can do, bro.
into Capcom Cup this season. I'm absolutely excited.
Help the
because, again,
P1
that is a big
Foundation by
change
hitting that
from
sub,
what
bro.
2020 was into what we could expect for 2021.
Man, stop taking that shit, bro. What's wrong with you, man?
Japan for the Capcom Pro Tour. Not only can you catch the Capcom Pro Tour live on the Capcom Fighters channel, you can do so on a plethora of platforms. We have it on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Of course, if you don't catch it live, you can also check out the VODs for all the competitive studying you would need to become a successful Street Fighter V player, as well as catching some of the community-focused content that we have. On
Man,
the
my
Capcom
gun
site.
is like not even, my shit is like
The official pre-show of the Capcom Pro Tour. We have sets where we take players from around the world and play off in an exhibition first to 10. Not only that, actually, we do have Street Fighter League that's happened season after season, non-stop action, 6 teams of 3, duke it out
We
in a
won.
battle tournament series to see who will walk away with the championship and the $150,000 prize.
Street Fighter League is something that you don't
We
want
need
to miss because normally
spawn game.
you only have
Yup.
one
We need
v1
a Scarface game, bro. That's what we
now,
need.
you actually have your teammates at your back, and every decision that you make is not just about you anymore.
Look for more news on
I'm playing World War Z.
later this year.
It's Oki time. What's gonna happen? He checks it. He checks the movement. What's happening?
Focusing on people playing in voice
Let's
on video.
not forget, the Intel World Opening is happening right now. Top players representing 11 regions around the world are competing for their place in the World Finals happening next month. Be sure to check out the official website for more information, including current standings and broadcast schedule.
To commemorate this event,
I don't think that's going to be a trailer. Dave, Davey, nope. Shadow. What up, Shadow?
Title and dojo object. You do not.
Y'all hit that sub for me, guys.
Highly
Hit that sub, man.
recommend everyone to stay tuned for future Capcom Pro Tour updates on the Capcom Fighters channel.
And again, we've had so many events so far. We started off with the Japan region. We've had
Thanks,
a couple
Eric.
more events going on afterwards, but the action does not stop. In fact, we're going to be continuing off with the Midwest region for the Capcom Pro Tour. I know you're definitely excited about that.
100%. I mean, of course,
You wanna
your
make a
work
comic
is from
about Puma,
Ohio.
imagine?
Make sure you guys tune in to see the tournament. You do
Just
not
imagine,
want to
bro.
miss some of the best Street
I
Fighter
totally
V
forgot I was at
players in the world
level 172 on here. Me and Texas played the shit out of this game, bro. You know they're coming out with that, man. Franklin, yeah, yup. Yeah, I'm getting it for sure.
Obviously, they got a rivalry. I'm the best in the world.
This game has changed the lives of so many people here.
Ooh, nice. The pop-off. That's what I'm talking about.
I told you it's gonna go to the limit, and I ain't landing the beat.
This is the ultimate Street Fighter V experience. This is Capcom Pro Tour.
I'm gonna read that by the time I watch the game, so
Thanks, guys. It's been a really exciting season so far, and
That's
I
funny.
can't wait to see how this plays out on the road to Capcom Cup. Remember
I
to
need to
check
go
out
shopping,
Capcom
but
Fighters
look, you don't
Twitch
want to.
and YouTube
So you,
channels
man.
for more information and to watch the latest matches. So that's a wrap for Capcom at E3 this year. Let's recap what we all saw. Resident Evil Village is back with the latest installment of the survival horror experience and RE-verse as part of the franchise's 25th anniversary. We have new adventures to embark on in the world of Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, and Monster Hunter Rise.
she's
And
using
don't
a
forget to go
green
back
screen
in time
behind
with
it.
The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles to tap into the
yeah,
family
for
history
sure.
of Phoenix Wright and solve new cases. Finally,
I'm playing
don't miss
Kaby.
out on the esports fun. Make sure you catch the latest
Thanks,
matches
V.
with Capcom Fighters.
So
There
what's that
really
shit
is
I'm
something
talking?
for everyone here today. But don't go anywhere yet. Join the conversation on Twitter and make sure you check out the Capcom virtual booth on the E3 portal to watch all these videos again and more. I'm Rachel Querico, aka Seltzer. Thank you for being part of the Capcom experience at E3 this year.
When did that shit over? And that's a wrap. Alright, that's all for that, man. Alright guys, so yeah, that was it, man. That was whack, right? That was pretty damn whack, bro. Alright, if you guys haven't yet hit that sub, man, make sure y'all hit that sub. That was really booty, yo. I ain't gonna lie. Just make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, guys. I'm about to I'm about to hop off here, guys, and I'll be back in a few hours. We're gonna do an early stream, not late night stream, alright? Yeah, this definitely was kind of a booty type of shit. But thanks for watching, y'all. Just make sure you hit that sub. Hit that sub, man. Anyways, peace out, guys. See you guys in a couple hours, alright? Much love, y'all.